everyone, to the Chomp Cast, the official podcast of Sword Chomp and SwordChomp.com. Thank you for downloading and streaming our podcast, taking some time out of your busy life to listen to us. And remember, if you're digging the show, please subscribe, leave us a kind rating, share it with your friends, whatever it takes to get the Chomp Cast name out there. We have a fantastic show lined up today for our listeners. We have all been pitching a tent, so to speak, in the new Animal Crossing Pocket Camp for mobile devices, and that has caused Morgan, actually, I'm talking about myself in the third person as I read my notes, to go back and play New Leaf. Because I wanted that real Animal Crossing experience. So I'm excited to talk with you guys a little bit about that. Shay has been through the fire and the flames this week, finally catching up with some Pyre, which has been excited to talk to him about. And we're also embarking on some legendary Zelda talk, as Breath of the Wild is now back on the table and back in our lives. The BioBreak story this week is a pretty cool story about a new species that was discovered in the Mariana Trench, and the topic of the show is actually pretty heavy stuff. It has to do with the whole EA controversy, microtransactions, pretty much everything that has now toppled down for EA after this whole Battlefront 2 debacle. So we're looking forward to talking about that. But first, let's introduce the crew that you will be hearing from over the next couple hours. My good friends. Up first, from Texas, a man who had his Nintendo account blocked in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. That's right, Nintendo has been pretty hush-hush, though, on the details for the press, but I know it's because it has something to do with his campsite having, like, these eyes-wide-shut style parties. Everyone's wearing, like, a mask to get in. It's like a whole fucking thing. Here to tell us more about it, Anthony Fisher. How you doing, Fish?
Yeah. Nintendo really doesn't want me to talk about that. But yeah, I'm highly, highly dissatisfied at the fact that I can't. It's my property, it's my campsite.
You have rights.
I should be able to do anything I want on my campsite. But I guess some of those goody two-shoe animals came by and ratted me out on it.
Oh, you got ratted out?
Yeah. I told you to let that elephant in.
No, but come on. Who's that elephant to please in around there?
Yeah, I agree with you, Fish. I mean, it's your campground. You should be able to do whatever you damn well please. Unfortunately, Nintendo owns the campground, so they're putting their foot down. But it was cool.
I'm just gonna take the party to my camper then.
The party just moves to the actual. They can't stop you. You don't want to know what the fuck happens in that camper. I'll tell you what. It's funny. I was telling my girlfriend about this whole joke that we're doing for the show, and she was telling me that as far as like swinger parties and stuff go, I was learning all these weird things about swinger parties. How they have like a bowl where you walk in and you put your keys in the bowl, and then at the end of the night you reach into the bowl, and whoever's key you grab is who you go home with. So,
right.
The more you know. And that was sort of what was going on at Fish's campsite. But we're glad to have you here, Fish. You are pretty much the most addicted to Pocket Camp of all of us. And up next from Japan, a man whose eyes are never shut, because he is woke, my friends. Shay Layton is here. How you doing, Shay?
Good. I'm awake, and really excited to talk about theories of 9/11 and other various conspiracy theories. Yeah, that's actually
he's that woke.
Tell them about the frogs. Tell them about the frogs, Shay. I can't. They're not woke enough for that. Not ready. They're not ready.
It's woke, man. He doesn't sound woke though. It's early in Japan, so he'll sound more.
I'm just trying to get that sultry voice. No, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm ready. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm jazzed.
Jazzed. That's the way we like him. And lastly, but surely not least, I guess from Michigan, Joshua Fowler's here. I guess, Josh, you're kind of like the Stanley Kubrick here. In Fish's weird setting, you're like the director. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Tell them yeah, we have to follow your very specific advice.
Yeah. But, the good thing about that, though, is I have experience working with
low gravity scenes. It really came in handy for all the wire work fish wanted in that
that's the
camper.
kind of stuff I want to hear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I gotcha. And then, that the Stanley
Hey,
Kubrick
I gotta
thing.
thank you for that, Josh. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man,
wire,
you really came through with those wires.
Mm-hmm.
And when Josh has a vision for how he wants to unfold, he's the Stanley Kubrick. No one's gonna get it. That's no one. We're too old. All these young kids these days listen to the show like, I don't know who the fuck Stanley Kubrick is. But if you don't know, he was a legendary director who died. Poor guy died when he was filming Eyes Wide Shut, which was a crazy movie about Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise and sexcapades. Fish's boy Tom Cruise was in there. Fish, have you ever seen that one? Eyes Wide Shut? Oh, you're missing.
I think I've seen parts of it. I know that famous line, "Show me the money," is from that movie, right? No? Okay.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're.
Oh, okay.
We need to keep.
That's all I know.
But I just, just whatever. Leave. I just want to say anything I can to help you live under that delusion. That's a dark movie, man. It's a fucked up movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't
definitely
watch
check
it?
out.
Oh,
Yeah.
check it out. Okay.
No, you should. Yeah, he died before they finished making it. So they released the film. It wasn't completely finished, so there's controversy around it. But it's just interesting. And you're into that stuff.
Yeah,
So
they used a cardboard cutout of Kubrick in the director's seat to film the the remaining scenes that weren't done whenever he passed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You got the job done.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And as far as your host, my name is Morgan Barnes. I'm from Montana, and when I was thinking about my intro, all I could think of is I don't want to be the groundskeeper that's to clean up after Fish's camp. I tell you what, that is a messy ass camp to clean after Fish. So.
You just get a hose, man. Just hose off everything.
Power washer. That's all you need is just to power wash that thing. Oh God. But no, it's gonna be a fun show. This all the usual disgusting levels we like to take it to right off the bat. This is how we weed people out. They listen to the show and within the first 5 minutes they're like, okay, I want no part of this shit. We're down for the ride.
And then everybody else who comes in and trickles it through is like, oh, okay, yeah, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. So if you made it this far, welcome,
congratulations.
friends.
It only gets better from here, and Josh only gets drunker. So that's the way we want
Woo!
Put your shirt back on, Josh.
No, you can't tell me what to do.
I like the shirt off. I think it's a good look. Say leave it.
Leave it off, baby.
But yeah. Oh God, I feel so giggly today. But yeah, I'm in a great mood. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Topic of the show is interesting because that's one thing we've been trying to do lately when we think about, our topics range from anything that's sort of in the news to sort of big picture stuff like nostalgia and violence in games and stuff like that. And this week, I feel like an appropriate time. I know, Shay, you actually sent us this article earlier this week, and everyone's been kind of talking about it. So there was the big article that was going around from CNBC. Basically, the headline was, this is EA's Day of Reckoning. And after the Star Wars game uproar, $3 billion in stock value wiped out. And that's pretty crazy. $3 billion in stock value wiped out. Their stock went down 8.5% month to date through Tuesday, whenever this article released. And while a lot of other companies like Take-Two and Activision Blizzard were on the upswing. So the angle I'm taking here, and that article was just sort of the starting point, was that this seems to be the tipping point. We've been talking a lot about loot boxes, and this is kind of wanting to get you guys' opinion on this. We did a loot box show, what was it? Like a month or two ago, and a couple of years, for years now, it's been sort of this conversation that he's coming up in small doses, and this seems to be like the needle that broke the camel's back. That's the expression, right? I don't know. I'm terrible at those kind of expressions. That's the expression.
Straw.
The straw. This is meant
Straw.
I guess that makes sense.
The needle.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Needle in a
needle
haystack.
saving is a
The
penny
needle in a
earned.
haystack.
Yeah, you find the needle in the haystack, and then you get the hay, and you put it on the camel, and you break its back. That's how.
When in Rome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
When in Rome, won't get fooled again. That's
Oh, is that how that expression
Yeah.
goes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sad thing is, I would not be able to tell the difference. I'm terrible at those sort of expressions, but so that is it. This is sort of like the mountain is toppling, and the funniest thing about the article is at the top, like just how these major places get their news now. It was saying like, major YouTubers are talking about how this is going to change things in the industry, or YouTube. I almost said enthusiasts, but influencers. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy. That whole debacle went down. Of course, the EA right before the game released, they said, okay, there's not going to be any more of these microtransactions. They're taking it out of the game. It left the whole thing kind of a mess. And me and Fish talked about the game last week. We didn't really enjoy the game that much anyway. But that was sort of the debacle that happened around everything else. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on it. Now that I've kind of set the table here. Shay, I'll throw it to you first because you were the one who first kind of tossed this article to us this week. I mean, where do you stand on this whole thing?
I'm very happy that this happened, to be honest with you. I mean, I was personally a little bit pissed off at the company that they had shut down the studio that had created Dead Space, because I've been hoping for another Dead Space, and now it looks like it's very unlikely that it will ever happen. Most likely will never happen. So I was a little bit bitter at EA, to be honest, for a personal reason. But on a more global scale, I think it's great, because I think the conversation the past few years is with loot boxes. I know we talked about it, and I had said that it makes sense for some games to include those, and that's fine. I mean, include your loot boxes to some degree, but when it's so egregious like it was in Battlefront 2, I think that that's clearly an issue. And that's almost like, to me, I can't think of a better analogy than like you're stacking the deck. Like you own the casino and you're stacking the deck, and you're basically you're basically screwing over your clientele, and then you expect them to be loyal to you. And also within that, you're kind of creating this addiction mentality, and you're kind of preying upon it, that basically people are going to spend money, and then you see someone else with that little gear or that skin that you want, and then you're going to prey more on that, and it becomes almost a gambling issue, which is why I think that it's been rumored actually that some governments might step in and start regulating the amount of loot box and microtransactions that happen in video games, because it almost becomes that point of gambling. And that's bad. That's the last thing this medium wants, is a government stepping in and regulating how video games are made. That was an issue back in 2011 with the whole mature rating controversy in California, when the government was threatening to get involved there. And we as gamers do not want the government involved in how our games are made. Yeah. So I think it's a great thing that EA really got a huge reality check, and hopefully this will kind of trickle down towards other developers. Yeah. And
only
studios.
sad maybe for the people that, like, if there's people that they're having, there's some careers I know on the line here as well. So like for those people, obviously it's not a good thing, but I agree with you at its core. Like, this happening is a good thing. Sometimes it takes something bad to happen for change. And that's
right. Yeah, and the whole career front. Yeah, the career front, I want to feel bad because people have to feed families and stuff. But at the same time, I don't judge. But if I was in